So should we start?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, let's start.
Yeah.
So first of all, we decided that I should sort of chair this session just for a beginning. I mean, we hope that this will just be the first in many sessions, so we can take turns and other people will join us, hopefully. And but I would like to thank you all for taking time to do this. This is great that we can do this, and we have such a broad variety of people from different places. And thank you, Stephanie, for taking care of all the technical stuff and invitations and setting up the meeting and so on.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
Very great. So we hope this will be an inspiration for all of you and a source of ideas and so on. And then we will hope it will spread to even more, so we can have more people joining us in here. I would just say a few words about the format of this meeting to, when we're dealing with this virtual setup, then just to make sure that everybody gets a chance to say what they want to say. So we will start with a short round of just initial reflections. I will tell you more about that in a moment. And then we will get down to more to elaborate on the different things that we have talked about. And I will try to distribute the time equally amongst all of us so that everybody get a chance to talk. And you may also be aware that we are recording this session and we will publish it in a special YouTube channel that Manish has arranged. Is that right, Manish?
That is true.
That's true. So it will be published there, so you are also aware of that. And there will also be a website, Globespeak. What did we end up with? What was the...
Globespeak.org.
.org. Yes. But you will receive much more information about that later.
Great.
So I think that will be all, because we have roughly 40 minutes. So let's get started. And I have made an order so we make sure that everybody get a chance to talk. Have a short round first, but I thought that maybe Manish, you would like to go first and tell us a little about what you would describe about the handling of the crisis in India. What has been significant for you in this process?
Sure. Yes. And yeah, really, it's wonderful to see everybody. So what's happening at the moment in India is that there's a complete lockdown of the country, and the numbers, if you say in India, considering the population, the numbers are really not that high in terms of ratio. But of course, given what we've seen in Italy and in US and other parts of the world, people are alarmed, and generally speaking, people are supportive of the lockdown and it's the staying at home, and that's not a mean feat considering we're a population of 1.3 billion people, so keeping that many people inside their house for 4 weeks is something. but also there's this growing worry amongst people about what's going to happen next. I mean, okay, we will survive the virus, but then what happens after that? Because everything has come to a standstill. So and with our kind of an economy where at least 70% of people are either into agriculture or into jobs that are like daily wage jobs, which means that they need to be present and they need to be doing things in order to earn money, and the work from home really doesn't apply to them. And if that's the larger section of your population, and if they don't have money, then of course they don't have money to spend, and then that affects the economy in a very big way. So that's a growing concern about in people's minds now, that what happens to the lockdown. And somebody made a very interesting statement the other day. I was talking to that person and said, this is a strange kind of famine that we are heading towards. Usually in a famine there is no food, but here's a situation where there's food but people will not have money to buy food.
Yeah. Okay, thank you. Julia, welcome. I can see you have you're also part of this. Great to see you.
Hi.
And we're just having a short round where we hear a few words from everybody. And you have just heard Manish. Maybe you would like to go next on what would you describe the situation as in Italy right now?
Well, so hello everybody first. And the situation in Italy is not very clear I mean, it's clear in terms of numbers, because now it's very easy to understand with numbers what is happening a bit worldwide. But unfortunately, it's not very clear, like from regions or even in cities. So we kind of saw that the north was the most impacted, and the south had a very slow start, but somehow they managed to keep it and to not spread it. So, which is very good, because like, as you probably know, like in the north, it's where there are also more money, and where also like the medical equipment or hospitals are more furnished, let's say. So, but it was a strong impact, probably too much. And I'm in at my parents' home, which is in the center east of Italy, center east coast, and it's a city where we got affected a lot. It's called Pesaro, and probably because before there was a basketball match. So imagine, you really didn't know, but we had a basketball match where probably a lot of people from the north came, and it spread. So everybody is locked down, as you said, also in India. And yeah, of course, here numbers are different, and the situation is different from South Asia or India. So we are lucky that we are not like in China, that you cannot really go out, but of course you can go out only for food or for medicine. Probably from a more emotional point of view, we felt at the beginning a bit left alone in Europe, because if everybody first was comparing China with Europe, you felt it quite distant. And then when it started in Italy, we also felt, of course, first thing, guilty to judge probably, or to even think about, like, thinking that in China will never come to us. But then we felt a bit alone when the rest of even Spain, France, Austria, Germany, like really around us, couldn't understand and couldn't really understand the danger, because of course we are not so far, you know. So if we at the beginning we did it with Asia, then, but there is really the distance. Like in Europe, there could have been managed different, or especially like now when I, for example, talk with my friends, even with Stephanie, that we are colleagues, I always kind of tell them, look, I'm talking to you from the future, because we started the lockdown 2 or 3 weeks earlier than you. So we are now in a month and 1 week. And so certain behavior we kind of got used to now. But hopefully they now said that by 1st of May, we could start again, but I'm not sure.
No.
Not really positive. No.
No. Okay. We will get back to more about this a little later. Skip, what about you?
Well, where I live in a farm area, so no one seems to be really affected in the vicinity where I live. But the concern is, number one, our groceries aren't being stocked. Our livestock processing plants are closing. And we have a big problem with politics getting involved, because our president is limiting information and putting everything on a political basis rather than a health basis. And he's pushing to open the country up. My concern, and I'm sure of many, our economy is based so much on small business. And having owned a small business myself in the past, I know that I couldn't survive months and months of no income. And as long as things are closed down, no matter how much the government is putting out there, like Manish said, there are so many people who are daily workers and food service workers that are underpaid to begin with. I don't know how those people are going to survive when we do come back. And then the question is, coming back, everyone, the president is pushing for spring sports to come, or summer sports to open back up, which is millions of people, thousands of people in one place. And I'm afraid it's just going to keep the cycle going. I don't know. It's so, everything's really unsure here because of lack of information.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Mariam, how is the situation in Iran? How would you describe what you are going through right now? It's also been we don't hear a lot about Iran in Europe, at least. Maybe, oh, maybe the connection is.
Yeah, I think the screen froze.
Sorry,
Yeah.
it was on mute. Can you hear me? Because I think the internet here is quite bad.
We can hear you now.
We can hear you, yeah.
Yeah. Did you hear what I asked you? Or? Yeah. That is a challenge. Well, while we're waiting for Mariam and the internet, maybe Stephanie, you can tell us a little about what you're experiencing. You are in where are you in the UK?
Yes. So
Yeah.
I'm German, but I live in London or in UK.
Okay.
And so I see it from both sides of it in a way. Although my main experience is surely from London. So I think as talking to Julia on a more like weekly basis as we are colleagues, we've seen the future, and living in UK, we've seen what probably countries should not have done. I feel kind of the lockdown was way too late, as there's a fear of the economics, what will happen, people need to spend. So the numbers are rising, although I've checked the numbers today, and it feels like it might be over the hill, or just on the top, although they are not saying it now in the media, which is fair enough, as I have a feeling that maybe after Easter, talking to a lot of friends where their family live somewhere in the more villagey sides, and they were visiting each other over Easter, over the holidays, and I think within 2 weeks' time, I also talked to my flatmate who works for the NHS. There might be another boom, although those are just estimates, we all don't know. I think Germany is at the moment already debating, as they are somehow over the hill-ish, at least over the first hill. They are now slowly debating on opening small businesses, similar to Italy, and they're also debating on opening, same as Denmark, as I've read as well, to opening up the small schools, like kind of for the toddlers, for the beginners, not for the high schoolers, not for the elderly, but I feel that's a good start. As one German politician said, that if you are starting to get to your kindergarten, or to your first, no, you're in the kindergarten and you go first to school, you need to have that preparation, that learning preparation, to be able to go to school next, like now in summer. And they're now worried about those kids that they've never had that can have an impact. We all don't know. Myself, I'm working at the moment with kids with learning disabilities. So I'm always out there, which is interesting because I'm not living myself in a lockdown. So I live a bit of a different situation as you all guys. So for me, I'm still out and about, it doesn't feel like taking the risk, as I'm just cycling down to work, but I'm still out and about, and you need to be careful. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, thank you. We will hear, I would like to hear more about that, but before we go to another round, Gert, to go to a totally opposite situation in a way.
Right.
You're in Denmark,
Yes.
right? So how would you describe what's on your mind here concerning Denmark and the situation right now?
Well, just hearing about Iran, certainly this crisis we're facing right now, it's very different from country to country, but I also see some big similarities to how we react in Denmark to at least our neighboring countries, and I'll try to keep it short. But in the situation of a crisis, you look for leadership, and we do that as well in Denmark. And of course, in order to get fellowship from the people, you need to communicate very much, and that we see also happening in Denmark right now, where the government is trying really storytelling. Why is this so serious? Why should we take it serious? What should we do? What should we not do? And I think the public has responded well to that, trusting that the government is doing fine. But now I also see, because as Julia also mentioned, it's not a very visual threat. It's a virus spreading amongst us, and now I also see challenging coming up, that questions being asked more, maybe losing faith. Are we doing the right thing? The thing is that you always, if you're not competent, you go slowly, right, in order to limit the risk, and you do not know, so stop and close the borders. We've seen that in many countries, also in Denmark. So now is the big challenge for Denmark. That's where we are right now, as I see it. How do we get everything started again without, being foolish about what we do? And there we look to our leadership also. They need to tell us, also in a trusting manner, what we should do. And there are some challenging happening right now. Are they really on top of their game? Are we going too slow, too quick? Are we making the right choices? So that's how, and maybe Henrik, you can chip in as well, but that's how I see the situation in so many words right now.
Yeah, I totally agree with you that we are in this phase now, but one thing that has struck me throughout this crisis is that how privileged we are. Living in a country like this, or in this part of the world, where we have a government that is ready to go out and support in any way they can. As much as possible. That is so. A lot of people are supported in the way that the salaries and things are compensated, and so on. And we have a great trust in our health authorities, as you also mentioned. We do actually believe that they are doing the best they can, even though they know that they are building the road while they are going on the trip, because this is a new situation. But we are coming to that part now where we are trying to open the country again, and could still have the faith in that they really know what they're doing, and they're trying to do the best for the community. But right. I really believe that this about being in a country like this, where you are supported and you're helped, and we cannot even start to understand how it must be compared to places like Iran, for instance, and right. Until now, I could just to mention this for Skip also, that until now I think the politicians have been very good at keeping together, to be unified in the approach. But now it has been 4 or 5 weeks, so now it's starting to become more politicized than it used to be. So they are also going into this phase now. But it was a unified parliament that locked down Denmark when it was decided, and that's
of course, yes.
Yeah. Okay, so now we have had such a sort of initial talk and heard a little about the different situations. Now we wrote to you in this letter that went out with the invitation, that this about, are there anything that you can contribute to maybe that you thought this is because of the culture, this is some of the economical, the social conditions. We have heard a little about the leadership. What are your thoughts about this in your respective area? And I know, Mariam, you have also talked a little about the political situation, which is very challenging in Iran, of course. But a few words from the rest of you, and you can just there's a raise hand function in Zoom, or you can just raise your hand. Yes, Julia. No, we were just waving.
I was just putting better my headphones. I need 1 second more.
Yes. So are there anything that you can see? This is part of culture, the way that we have handled this crisis. This is a typical way that we do in our place, in our country, and it has these effects, sort of.
So maybe I can
Yes,
go.
Manish?
Yeah. So one of the things that I see that the Prime Minister here has done very cleverly is that while trying to impose certain norms and rules, he used a lot of symbolism, because this is a country of symbolism. It was otherwise extremely difficult for somebody to just say, hey, you're not going to move out of your house for the next 4 or 5 weeks, and then expect 1.3 billion people to just listen to him. That's a massive ask. So what he did is and given also the fact that a large section of the population is not that educated, right? So he used a lot of symbolism, and he used that, and people responded to that. People responded to that symbolism. So he asked people, for example, one of the days he came on television and he said, this evening I would expect all of you to, at this time of the evening, to light a lamp. And this is basically to show that we are all together, and we're moving towards the light and away from the darkness. So he used that metaphor. On another day he said, let's at this time of the day, let's all get together as a country, and for 5 minutes, let's ring a bell to show support for all the health workers who are working day and night to support in this crisis. And people really took to that, and it served to kind of unify people in the cause. You know what I'm saying? Because otherwise it would have been extremely difficult just using facts and figures to ask people in this country to just support the movement. They wouldn't have, because facts and figures wouldn't appeal as much to this culture, which is more about stories and symbolism and about emotions. It's a more emotional culture. So he used that very, very deftly, I must say, to get people to agree. Thanks.
How does that resonate with the rest of you? This approach of being, now, Gerd, you mentioned this about being more storytelling and so on, but this is definitely a cultural trait, you could say, from this culture. Stephanie, you were...
I feel like this in terms of culture, even though I live in UK now for about 4 years-ish, I still can resonate more with German culture. So thinking about Germany, Angela Merkel, she's with us since like kind of all our time, isn't it? And I feel throughout every crisis, she was always really like mothery, but still very pragmatic and very fact-giving. Although now, especially with that crisis, within her, kind of every president has their own main speech of stay at home type of thing. And I thought she was a bit more emotional. I think she chose also the emotion side of, okay, those are the facts we all know, you can all look them up, but please stay at home, because, and she upheld on the emotions and on the responsibility. And I found that was quite nice to hear from her. On the UK side, as I can see as a foreigner, I think UK is quite a proud country about being a UK citizen. And what I found really nice is that they are clapping as well every Thursday at 8 o'clock for a few minutes for the NHS. And I found that really heartwarming, because everywhere, it does not matter where you live in the whole UK, they're getting out of the street and clapping, and I found that really nice. And I think UK is in the point where our president just had corona. He's out of the hospital now. So I think it all depends a bit now on what experience probably he had in order to what next decisions he gonna make, right? Because I know Brazil took a different turn where the president had it, but just mildly he just opened up everything again. So let's see. I think in UK, yeah, let's see what his experiences were.
Yeah. Yes. Other thoughts on this approach?
Yeah, maybe
Yes,
I can.
Julie?
I feel related a lot to, I mean, I think that Italians, we are very close to Indian. I don't know, I have many Indian friends and I know that we have many things in common. And yeah, like probably we were also the first one to start this, also singing from the balcony and clapping, and it's a beautiful thing to do. So probably the best thing that this whole crisis and this lockdown did is to really reunite each other under our families and to really like feel not only compassion but really like be sensitive to the others, something that probably at the beginning that usually we don't really do unless it's probably for your work. So we really kind of discovered this part, and from the political point of view at the beginning, I mean, I have to say the beginning because now it's quite long, but at the beginning, yeah, we had our president kind of was the only one give us suggestion, but now unfortunately, like all different parties started again. So I hope it will come again in one voice as it was at the beginning when it was more difficult. And yeah, I just hope that after this really like there will be like a positive change in really respecting each other much more from the beginning, not only hospital now because they are in the front line or other categories, but constantly everybody considered in the front line, because we see it even with of course like immigrants, that when part of the society wants, they accuse them, and now probably not, you know. It's always very debatable, this situation, but I really hope that then the bigger picture now will be better distributed, let's say, not only when we are in crisis, but every day.
Yes. Yeah.
I have a reflection, if I may. And I'm not sure if it really says anything about our culture. Maybe it does, but hearing these stories from Italy and India, which warm-hearted people and compassionate and so forth, I just reflected on that. We make it short. The rare event that I wanted to mention is our Queen. She actually spoke to for the fifth time for many years no, I'm mixing it up with English Queen, but it's the first time our Queen actually spoke to the people besides the yearly speak she has at New Year's. And what she communicated basically was to behave in a proper way. And that I think every Danish citizen really listens to and adheres to, that you need to do the right thing. And that's a very special event in Denmark that happened. So that says also something about how we have as a society responded to the crisis. It's a big thing, and then this happens. Just a reflection.
Yeah. I just try to tell people I have their numbers that they should try the same link again, because they can.
I've just
so let's hope they will.
Yeah.
Let's hope they will join us. I think that this emotional part. Now we talk about what might be underneath the surface of culture and so on. Do you think that this emotional part that is about, because now we are really in a crisis we have never been in before. So we are challenged in ways that we do not normally, we are out of control. And when you're out of control, you need this kind of safety, or that somebody helps you, or something, that this way of communicating more emotionally, because I think that in Denmark we also like facts. We are a very fact-driven culture, and then you have the exact number of everybody who has been infected and died and everything. You can always look it up. But at the same time, we also need this, as I think you also, this is also what you're talking about, Gert, this more emotional support that this is not easy, and we are in this together somehow. Nice to have you back. Yes. What do you think about, maybe this is something that unites us in beneath all this cultural surface? I don't know.
Yep. No, I think, if I may go, so of course, facts and figures help to an extent, I think, and but it only kind of, it helps to let you know what the situation is, but beyond a certain amount of facts and figures, people, just to put it very plainly, they want a hug, maybe.
Yeah.
They just want to feel, like you said, they want to feel safe, and the facts and figures don't help you feel safe. What helps you feel safe is somebody telling you, don't worry, I'm there for you in case something goes wrong. Yeah, or even better, when it's about, we are all of us are in this together. And in fact, Gert, I'll borrow a phrase from you that you used a couple of days ago when we were talking, and Gert, you said that, will we now learn to face crisis as a species rather than as a country or as individuals? And I think that's the emotional connect that helps people get over these things. So I was talking to a couple of friends, right? So one of my friends who works for Merrill Lynch in Florida, he was talking about how this could actually help him get more business. He's a financial planning advisor, and he was actually looking at it as an opportunity. Somebody else is probably looking at it as big trouble. But so if different people are looking at it in different ways because of facts and figures, then that means we've not really learned much from the crisis as people. And that's where emotion plays a part. It gets people together, and it probably helps you learn some lessons, and you hopefully know how to handle this better next time. And whether that's the US or it's India, it's whether it's about politicizing, and of course there will be some people who will always want to take advantage of the situation in some way or the other, or some people who just don't grasp it at all, and they say inane things during a crisis because of whatever, because of bad advice or because they just don't get it. But the common people, you and I, who are going through it every day and experiencing it, what's connecting us is the fact that there is an emotion of care, and that's very strong, I guess, more than the facts and figures.
Julia, you were talking about what comes out on the other side when we go through the crisis, and what lessons we can take from this. Can you say a little more about that? What your hopes are?
Well, probably going back to manage, like, to really consider this emotion that we had now, because we are in a moment of an exceptional moment, we can say, of difficult times, to really take this as a precious moment actually, and to reconsider many choices that we've been doing until now without probably taking in consideration. So if, for example, myself, I used to travel a lot because for work I wanted to be there. No, I have to really be there physically and really so consuming travel, whatever, maybe online teaching even can help. So really, if in the little we can all reconsider certain steps in order to environmentally and also from the human aspect we can make something better or different, I think this is the right time, because like this virus taught us that everything can stop if we.
Yeah.
I always also believe that I cannot stop. You know, I never used to say I don't have time, because I can create time in the night, but I used to say I cannot stop. This I always used to say in these past 2 years that I've been traveling so much. But now, like, everything can stop completely. So we just need to learn from this and change something, like as little as something in our life, to then hope for a better cohesion in the whole society, which of course needs a change. But of course, like, different category stakeholder has to come into it. So
Very nice.
Yeah. What the rest of you, what do you think about that, and how positive do you see of these opportunity that we will be able to not go back to the way that it was before, but try something new maybe? Yeah, Mariam.
I think one thing that I think is we have all learned in a way as humans, I think, is that the nature is finally breathing somehow. And I'm not sure if it's, I mean, the degree and everything we've heard that the scientists have said that it's become a little bit colder some areas, and I have never experienced rain or snow in April in Iran, and it snowed last week, and it's quite weird. It could be a coincidence, of course, but it has become very cold here. And I've known that you had, like, for example, or my brother, people in Europe, they've told me that it has been quite sunny there. So I don't know, but it's just maybe emotional, or as a feeling. I feel whatever this virus, and it's hurtful, but if you see the good side of it, is that finally nature is breathing. And I am so thankful that, because we have become so distant with the nature, with the globe, with the climate, with everything, that this is bringing us a little bit, or it's like a lesson to learn. If you keep doing what you're doing, you are destroying the planet. And you are doing it. Humans are doing it. We are doing it. So I think that's something that we should take as a the lesson. And maybe if we have kids, we should maybe start destroy, or them not to do.
Yeah. Just a quick question, because I know that the pollution in Tehran is very bad. Is that something that has changed? Do you notice that? Do you see a change in that? Just a very practical question.
Yeah, that we have a lot of pollution. So people think it's in China, expect the being in Iran. So it's actually really bad. That has made it worsen the pollution. And also because you're surrounded by mountains, the pollution does not go out.
Okay.
It gets stuck in the city. So like we're in a hole. But these days, I can't tell you, it's like magic. When you wash your face, especially women who are very much into their faces and skincare, you can see that it's actually quite, your skin is becoming more bright. And when you have dust, you used to have so much dust on the table during the week because of the pollution and the building, the constructions and everything. I mean, there's almost no dust anymore. And everyone has a purifier. Everyone has a cleanser in their house to make it clean, you know, the way. There. And it's so funny that you asked this, and like, because I was telling my brother, you know what, we don't have any more dust on our tables.
Yeah.
Yeah, it has helped a lot by people being inside.
So a quick question to all of you: when we think about these things, and it's been quite surprising, it was at least to me, that when you saw there's almost no air traffic and the pollution has gone down, and you can see these pictures that has been published from NASA and so on. But if we talk about small changes, what would you like to do differently, or what would you like to influence in a way when we come out on the other side of this? Yeah, Stephanie.
I can go. So what I see, and I feel a lot of, like, more and more people are volunteering. More and more people are saying, all right, I am in a privileged situation. I have some time here. I want to do something good and I want to help. And that is something really beautiful I see. These people, I probably would not have thought they would, if Corona would not have happened, they might would have not volunteered as soon as in their life. So I hope that stays, that appreciation of, let's say, the NHS work, or the appreciation of certain work you approve for yourself and you want to help, that people keep doing that. And also what I find is, those are the little things, but if you are going out in the park for a run, people recognize you. I can't even imagine in London how many smiles I got from strangers, and that is something which does not happen usually. And just that seeing each other, I hope that will never stop again, because that is important.
Yeah.
I can share a thought.
Please.
I think that, and I hope that we will continue to work much more online together. I see that not only for myself, but my family, my kids, my surroundings, and also internationally. I mean, I would not have met all of you wonderful people if it wasn't for this. And why don't we get together? I mean, after this crisis, there will be another one. We have the environment knocking at our door, right? And the earth saying, please help me. So I hope that, collaborating across borders, working online, maybe commuting less, supporting in many ways, I hope that will change. I'm kind of certain of it, actually.
Yeah. I have heard that there are companies in Denmark who have already now announced that when they go back to normal business, they will have more flexible working hours for their employees, and they will be able to work more from home, but also to have more virtual meetings. Because, this has really driven the digital revolution,
Yes.
This coronavirus. It was not the CEO, it was not the strategic organization, it was the coronavirus that really made us get to the eyes of this. Yeah. Any other remarks concerning this when we get on the other side?
So I guess I could add something. So one of the things that this whole situation has done is it has, I think, awakened people and the government as to what the real priorities are. And one of the things that as a country we have realized is that we really need to strengthen our healthcare system. It's not the best. So we were going through some figures, me and a few other people in the healthcare department, and we realized that as a country we have 200,000 ventilators, out of which on any given day about 100,000 ventilators are occupied because of normal illnesses, operations, what have you. So if we suddenly have a surge in coronavirus cases, can you imagine the catastrophe that we're looking at if we want to tackle this kind of a pandemic amongst 1.3 billion people with 100,000 ventilators? So it has left the system exposed, and I think that's a good thing, because now both the people will ask for the right things and the government will be compelled to think about the right things. The other thing that has come out very starkly in the open is the fact that, so as a country, we were going through, in psychology, you have this syndrome called the Dunning-Kruger syndrome, which is basically you have this illusion about your competence. And a lot of people in this country thought, oh, this is a hot country, so the virus will die. Or Indians as a community, we are exposed to much more viruses and diseases, so we have developed an immunity anyway. And all of those myths have been busted, and people have now, so as a country, culturally, we haven't been too conscious about healthcare or about taking care of ourselves. We haven't been. That's not a cultural thing, as you see. And you see that much more in Europe or in the US. People are much more health conscious. People go for regular checkups. People are more aware of how they are doing. But that's not culturally so in this country. But now, after this, people seem to be understanding that is also important. So getting their priorities right, I think that's a shift that's probably slowly happening as a result of this.
So we do get some wake-up calls in certain areas because of this. I'd like to share, before we sort of wrap it up, if it's okay, I'd like to share a story I heard from Iceland today. I saw an interview with their chief who's responsible for the National Health Service. And in Iceland, they have mapped all the DNA of the entire population. I don't know if you are aware of that. Wow. They did that some years ago, and now they are testing everybody that they can test. I mean, everybody who wants a test gets a test. So people are voluntarily going to the doctors or the hospitals to get a test. And they have mapped more than 300 different strains of COVID-19 viruses. This is why this virus is so difficult to deal with. But they have also noticed something interesting, and that is that you can, because of the different strains of these coronaviruses, you can see where people picked up the virus, in what country, because all countries have different versions of the virus. So they are in the process now of mapping where people went, where it was spread, how they got it, and they seem to have the situation under control. But there are very few inhabitants in Iceland, and it's an island, you could say. But it's very interesting, and if you want to know more about it, you can Google this interview with it's called Kari Stefansson.
That is very interesting.
Yeah, because they have a different approach to this, that they actually know the DNA, and they can see the connection between people who get mostly ill and their DNA, and if there's any genetics involved in this. And they have not found out yet, but they are looking for patterns.
Well, that's very
so
interesting.
It would be nice if the world could share these results also, yes. That we, yes. Instead of competing each other, that we could maybe share these interesting
yeah. Absolutely.
Henrik, before we just close this, can I just ask you and Gab, maybe you're in Denmark, because I know Sweden didn't close down, and the ratio between, if we don't take the population, of course, Sweden is quite bigger than Denmark, but the death toll compared to Denmark, which has closed down the whole country, is quite low, in my opinion, though. And I was wondering what brought this to Sweden, that they didn't close, and Denmark, which is a neighbor of Sweden, actually closed everything. Yeah. Can you tell me a little bit, or tell us about this?
Gerd, would you like to answer this? Or?
I'm not sure that it's correct that the death toll per habitant is low. It's actually twice the amount in Sweden. And I just read in the news today that a group of 20 professors say we need to do something now, or this goes totally berserk in Sweden. So that's the latest update from me, but maybe you, Henrik, have more insights.
No, it's exactly the same. I heard the same numbers. They are twice as many inhabitants in Sweden as they are in Denmark, but the death toll is 4 times as much. So it's double what we have in Denmark. So, but the thing is that we don't know if there will be another go of the virus and when it will sort of die out. And that is what the experts, at least in Denmark, Sweden, and a few other countries, are discussing, because they don't know yet. It's very uncertain.
But do you know why they waited this long when the rest of the world were busy shutting down? What made them wait? Where did that confidence come from?
Yeah, it's really odd, because usually in Scandinavia, Denmark is you could say the renegade. The country that we usually don't do things like that. In Sweden, they are very cautious, but somehow they chose this approach. I don't know, Gert, if you have heard anything from Sweden about this. Or...
Yeah, so I think their thinking is linked to that they have a lot of square miles to live on.
Right.
So the scarcity, or whatever the word is in Sweden, I mean, they don't live close to each other.
Okay, so the density of population.
Yeah, so
Yes.
that's part of their reasoning for why this is not necessary. And you have villages, but they are, very distant from other villages. So I think that, at least supports their idea. And in Sweden, there's one guy, I can't remember his name, but the chief virus expert kind of guy, who makes the calls basically, and everybody looks to him. So he has a weighty role in deciding on what to do, and he's put this forward.
That's the strategy they have chosen in Sweden. But they are right now, they are considering, as you also mentioned, they are reconsidering if this is the right approach, because they are now the hospitals are under. I mean, they are exhausted. The doctors and the nurses are exhausted. But I think that Sweden is bigger than Italy, actually, and there are 10 million inhabitants. So it is quite low density of population. Yeah. Well, I think that if it's okay, this is just an initial talk, you could say. This is the first. We will hope that there will be many more sessions like this. And hopefully it has generated or sparked some inspiration, some ideas, and to me, as I think that Gert also mentioned this, that this to have an opportunity to meet guys like you from all over the world, we would never have sat down and talked if it wasn't because of this. And let's hope that more people can join us in this conversation, because to be honest, I'm not very positive concerning how we will get out on the other side, because I have seen too many times that we go back to normal very fast, and I hope it will not happen this time. So if more people share the conversation and they keep this and keep reminding themselves that we had time together, we actually didn't need to travel that much. We didn't have to do all these things. Yes, Julia, you were saying, or? No,
I was agreeing that I'm the one that I was traveling too much and I shouldn't.
No,
I was
too.
agreeing and starting a list, actually. I should start a list. What I should do from now. I wanted just to remind you.
That's a good idea. Maybe a list is a good idea. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So any final remarks before we end this session? Anything you'd like to add?
Skip, maybe you should. Do you have something?
Could you see I was thinking?
Yes.
I'll tell you, the one thing that has come out of this for me is, and as you know, I've traveled a lot, traveled quite a bit. I am so happy to just be home and not have to justify it or to make an excuse to be home. The only thing is I miss my friends and my family. Thank God for the internet. I mean, we've all learned something from it. So hopefully we'll come out on a good side and learn some lessons. What else can we hope for?
Right. So thank you very much for doing this. You will get more information about the website and the YouTube channel, and I hope to see you all again in not so distant a
Thank you
Thank,
also. Thank you for the opportunity.
Yeah, thank you for the invite, guys.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And thank you, guys.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Have a-
Thank
Stay
you.
safe.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Yes.
Bye.
Take care.
Bye bye.
Take care.
Mhm.